Hello everybody, welcome to Live Interactive English. My name is Rainbow.
Hi, I'm Mike. Hi.
Oh, Mike, you're busy. What are you doing?
Yeah, well, I'm looking at my banking app because I'm waiting for a money transfer from a friend overseas, and I don't know, it's not here. I don't know what's going on, but there seems to be a problem, and you know, banks, there's always a lot of trouble when you need to get help and stuff. So I'm trying to use the app to figure it out. Because otherwise I think I'll have to call them.
I think you might have to call them, but you have to try to get their office hours.
True, and hopefully find someone there who can help me in English, because explaining some of this stuff can be hard when you're not doing it in your, normal language, in your sort of mother tongue. So, yeah, I got to figure this out. But it doesn't stop us from teaching, and in fact, today we're going to be looking at banking for international students, Part 1. So if you're living overseas, maybe as a student, which would be quite common, you'll probably need to use a bank, a local bank, not your friendly bank from home, but a bank in a foreign country, and that can bring with it all sorts of new problems and issues and questions. And so we're going to be looking at that. And hopefully, I'll learn something from the dialogue that can help me solve my problem. Fingers crossed. Let's check out the dialogue. Danny is speaking with a bank teller.
Hello. I need to open up a bank account. I'm an international student at Green Valley College.
Okay, a college checking account might suit you then. This account doesn't have any monthly maintenance fees.
Yes, that sounds good.
Great. In addition to your passport, foreign tax identification number, foreign address, and proof of your U.S. address, such as a bill, I'll need to see a student ID or proof of enrollment or acceptance. If you don't have your passport or student ID with you, there's a list of other acceptable forms of ID on your right.
It's okay. I've got them with me.
I'll also need you to fill out this form. Please be sure to include the name of your school and your expected graduation date.
All right, so yes, banking for international students, part 1. Banking is something a lot of people don't really love, but it's extremely important to keep your money organized. And when you're doing it in another country, as we said, it can bring with it new and special challenges. So let's see, the first thing you want to do if you're overseas and you want to take care of your money using a bank's help. It says number 1, or part 1, opening a student bank account. Sure, you want to open a bank account, and in this case, it's a special bank account for a student. So what's going on here?
Danny is speaking with a bank teller. Okay, so this is the person who works at the desk that's sitting there and asking you, what do you need help with? And Danny explains what he needs help with.
That's right. So the bank teller is working at the bank and Danny needs help. Danny says hello. That's a good way to begin a conversation. And then he kind of explains his problem and what he needs help with. He says, hello, I need to open up a bank account. He could have just also said, I need to open a bank account. Open up is the same idea. And then he kind of explains his personal situation. I'm an international student at Green Valley College. All right? That's a useful thing to mention, because if you're an international student, you're probably not from the country. You don't have a passport or ID from that country. So they'll probably need to choose some special paperwork for you, because you do, live or come from a foreign country.
That's right. So the teller says, okay, a college checking account might suit you then. So that's not only a special type of account for the passport, but it's for who he is. And he is a student, so it's a college checking account. This account doesn't have any monthly maintenance fees. Oh, that's good. So he doesn't have to pay extra fees every month. Now, what kind of account would require monthly maintenance fees?
Well, maybe a checking account or an account that's connected to your credit card. And of course, having a student account means things will be a little cheaper. They won't charge you these maintenance fees or service charges, as we also sometimes call them. And also for Danny, he wouldn't be interested in information about borrowing money from the bank to buy a house or, things like that. He's a student. He has, pretty normal things that he expects from the bank account, and he doesn't have a lot of extra money. So not having to pay these service charges or maintenance fees is good news. So he says, yes, that sounds good. That sounds like the plan or the bank account that I want to open.
So the first word we have here is monthly. So we have the word month. There are 12 months in the year from January to December. When we add that word ly here, we're using it to describe something that is paid every month. We call them monthly fees. Fees are the money that you pay. Maybe there's your rent or some maintenance fee in this case. So if you have to do something monthly, or if you get something monthly, that means every about 30 days or so you have to pay or you receive some money. For example, if you work in an office, you would get maybe a monthly salary, so they pay you every month. I have an example sentence for you. Greta's monthly salary is barely enough to cover her expenses. So maybe her rent is quite expensive, or she has to pay back some loans. She doesn't really have enough money every month, so her monthly pay or salary isn't really enough.
That's right, absolutely. Maybe she needs a new kind of bank account.
Oh yeah, I think so. She needs some special savings or something.
Let's see what the bank teller says next to Danny.
Great! In addition to your passport, foreign tax identification number, foreign address, and proof of your U.S. address, such as a bill, I'll need to see a student ID or proof of enrollment or acceptance. Wow, if I was that student, I'd be like, say what? Can you say that again? That's a lot of information. I need IDs. I need a lot of proof, that I'm not just a stranger, a random person opening an account. I have to prove that I'm actually a student from from another country in this college. Oh, it's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, a lot of paperwork that Danny will have to show to the people in the bank, but that's pretty normal for opening a bank account. He might have to get a few extra things because he is from a foreign country. But a lot of this stuff will simply be identification that the bank uses to open his personal file. When we talk about identification, we talk about some kind of official document or card or something like that. It probably comes from the government, some department or branch of the government, and it basically says who you are. It'll have your name, it'll probably have a picture, your date of birth, maybe your address, simple stuff like that. When we talk about identification, we can shorten this word down to ID. If someone says, please show me some ID, they mean identification, and typically that would be something like a passport, your driver's license, if you're younger, maybe a card from your school, your hospital card, something that basically says, okay, this is you and I know where this comes from, the government, so I believe that this is all true and honest. For example, the police officer asked to see some form of personal identification or personal ID.
And we have a second word here is acceptance. This is the word accept, and then when we add A-N-C-E, that becomes a noun. So accept is somebody who takes something, who gets something and receives it. And acceptance is when someone else accepts you, means you can join their university, you can go to school there, you'll receive an acceptance. And here we call letter of acceptance. So that's a letter saying that you can go to this university. James received his letter of acceptance from Liberty University last week. Well, congratulations to James because he has somewhere to go for college.
That's right. He has been accepted.
Yes.
That's the verb form of the the word acceptance. So yes, he can go there. They have accepted him. All right, so back to the bank teller. The bank teller continues with more information for Danny. I hope he's writing everything down,
right?
because this is a lot to remember. Yeah.
If you don't have your passport or student ID with you, there's a list of other acceptable forms of ID on your right. Okay, that's in case somebody didn't bring anything. But I think Danny's smart.
Yeah, he seems to be well prepared. But you're right, sometimes people don't go walking around with their passport. These are important.
Especially in another country.
Yeah, these are important things, so it might be a good idea to keep it safe. But at the bank, you want that with you. And Danny, you're right, is prepared. He says, it's okay, I've got them with me. So maybe he looked up online or asked someone. They told him what to bring, and he brought it.
I'll also need you to fill out this form. Please be sure to include the name of your school and your expected graduation date. Well, here's a lot of stuff going on, but we're going to take a really quick break and then we'll come back and then we'll talk about applying for something else afterwards.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这次的绘画主题是银行英语。第一段对话里面的 Danny， 他是国际学生，他要开一个银行账户。那么银行行员认为大学支票账户或许适合他，这种账户啊不收取每个月的这种账户管理费。那么 Danny 就接受了行员的建议。好，单字 monthly 它是形容每月的，每月一次的。那文中用到 bank teller 来表达银行行员，还有 maintenance fee 表示账户管理费。这时候 Mike 老师则提到 service charge 就是指服务费的意思哦。好，那么行员接着要 Danny 提供护照、外国纳税识别码，还有国外地址，以及他在美国的地址证明，可能像是账单之类的。另外还需要看他的学生证或者是入学啊或录取证明。听起来好像蛮复杂的，那幸好 Danny 所有的证件都带齐了。Rainbow 老师刚刚就说啊，不是随便一个人都能办理开户的，一定要有身份证明文件。老师用到 random 这个字 ，random，random 它是形容随机的、任意的。那这边还有两个单字是 identification， 它可以表达识别或是身份证。那这时候它可以缩写为 ID， 就像 student ID 表示学生证。对话里面则提到 foreign tax identification number， 则是指外国纳税识别码。再看下一个单字是 acceptance， 它表示接受，可能像是接受某个申请啊、提议等等。那这个字还有认可的意思。它的相关词性是 acceptable， 那就是形容可以接受的或是认可的。接着回到课文中。
Holly is standing at the bank teller window.
How may I help you?
I'd like to apply for a Unibank credit card for students.
Okie dokie. Here's an application for you to fill out. When you're done with that, please provide your passport, proof of enrollment, and proof of income, as well as your individual taxpayer identification number.
Would you accept a pay stub as proof of income?
Yes. If you can't or don't want to provide proof of income, you can also get someone to co-sign your application.
All right, welcome back. So we're still at the bank. We're still getting some help with all sorts of banking issues that we're trying to do as a foreign student. Earlier, Danny opened a student bank account. That's very useful. The next thing you might want to do if you're studying in another country is get yourself a credit card. That can be really useful for emergencies, buying things you need. So let's look at the next step that will get you there or get you a credit card, applying for a student credit card. It says Holly is standing at the bank teller window. So Holly is our new customer, but I imagine Danny will be doing the same type of thing quite soon as well, getting a student credit card.
How may I help you?
All right, the bank teller begins by basically saying, how can I help you? What problem can I solve for you today? And Holly explains, I'd like to apply for a Unibank credit card for students. So it's slightly different than a credit card. Maybe you can't spend so much money or things like that. But basically, this will work for her just like a credit card will.
Oh, Okie dokie.
Okie dokie.
That means okay. Here is an application for you to fill out. When you're done with that, please provide your passport, proof of enrollment, and proof of income, as well as your individual taxpayer identification number. More ID, more proof, more information the bank needs.
Exactly. Of course, your ID will show your face, your name, where you were, when you were born, that kind of stuff. But in this one, she also needs to show how much money she has and that she's making money because, of course, the credit card will let you spend the bank's money and then you should pay them back later. But they want to make sure that you have some money there to start with. So this will all be part of her application. When we talk about an application or application form or applying for something, basically you're asking for formal permission to join something or to do something. If you want to go to a university, you don't just show up at Oxford or Harvard and say, hey, I'm here, where can I go for class?
You have to apply.
You have to apply, and part of that will be filling out an application. This will probably be a piece of paper or a form online, a space for your name and information about you, all your identification, your ID stuff will go in there and basically say, I'd like to go or I'd like to do this. May I? And then they'll look at it, they'll decide, and they'll let you know, and hopefully they'll say yes. But the application is basically that asking to do something or to go somewhere. For example, Sasha asked the grocery store clerk for a job application. Sasha can't just show up one morning and say, okay, I work here now. No, they have to put in an application.
Would you accept a pay stub as proof of income?
Oh.
Okay, so pay stub is kind of like a receipt.
Kind of thing that shows how much you made at your job that month, maybe. Yeah. And so the bank teller says, yes, a pay stub would be good for proof of income because if you have that job, you get that money, right? That's the way it works. So yeah, that's okay, says the bank teller. If you can't or don't want to provide proof of income, you can also get someone to co-sign your application. Basically, this kind of is saying, if you don't have that job, if you aren't working right now, maybe you're just focusing on your school and your studies, you don't have a part-time job, or maybe you just don't want to show us how much money you make, that's kind of private information, you can still get the credit card, but you need someone to co-sign your application. Basically, if you co-sign something, you're saying, I'm not the person, but I know this person, I support them. If they end up with trouble, I will take care of the trouble. This person would probably be Holly's mother or father.
Yeah, like an uncle or aunt.
Someone like that who has a bit more money, and if Holly gets into any trouble, at least the bank knows that this person will help to take care of it. So that's another way to get that credit card. And I'm sure she'll get it, and I'm sure she'll only use it for emergencies and for school books.
Maybe.
She won't use the credit card for shopping or fun, right, Holly? Well, we don't know about that. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today, but we'll have more about wonderful information about getting and everything you need to use at a bank so that you can get on with your life. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.
好，在第二段对话里 ，Holly 要申请学生信用卡，行员就请他填写申请表，并在填好之后要提供护照、入学证明、收入证明，还有个人纳税识别码。Holly 就问行员说，能不能用薪资明细表来当做收入证明？行员回答说可以。那如果你不能或者是不想提供收入证明，你也可以找人来共同签署这个申请。Application 这个名词就表示申请表或是申请。那文中用到 proof of enrollment 来表达入学证明。这个 enrollment 就是指说注册啊或是登记的意思，它也可以表达注册人数。再来 pay stub 它表示薪资明细表，还有 co-sign 它表示联合署名、共同签署，它的字首 co 就有共同的意思哦。那这边一个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看这边一个重点是 as well as 的意思及用法。第一种呢，我们可以把它用来当连接词，表达和以及，用来连接词性相同的字词。举例来说 ，Sean is good at baseball as well as basketball。Sean 对棒球以及篮球都很擅长。那特别注意，如果你是用 as well as 去连接主词的时候，我们的动词是要配合 as well as 前面的名词哦。 像是 Nina, as well as her husband and children, is coming over for dinner tonight. Nina 以及她的老公和孩子们今晚会过来吃晚餐。虽然听起来好多人要来吃晚餐哦，可是句子呢是在强调 as well as 前方的主词 Nina， 所以这时候 be 动词我们是用 is。再来看到第二个用法是用 as well as 当介系词，表达除了点点点之外还有什么什么，意思相当于 besides 或者是 in addition to， 后面可以接名词或动名词。例如 as well as being a chef。He's also a famous YouTuber. 他除了是一名主厨，还是一位知名的 YouTuber. 好，那么以上是这些讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Danny is speaking with a bank teller.
Hello. I need to open up a bank account. I'm an international student at Green Valley College.
Okay, a college checking account might suit you then. This account doesn't have any monthly maintenance fees.
Yes, that sounds good.
Great. In addition to your passport, foreign tax identification number, foreign address, and proof of your U.S. address, such as a bill, I'll need to see a student ID or proof of enrollment or acceptance. If you don't have your passport or student ID with you, there's a list of other acceptable forms of ID on your right.
It's okay. I've got them with me.
I'll also need you to fill out this form. Please be sure to include the name of your school and your expected graduation date.
Holly is standing at the bank teller window.
How may I help you?
I'd like to apply for a Unibank credit card for students.
Okie dokie. Here's an application for you to fill out. When you're done with that, please provide your passport, proof of enrollment, and proof of income, as well as your individual taxpayer identification number.
Would you accept a pay stub as proof of income?
Yes. If you can't or don't want to provide proof of income, you can also get someone to co-sign your application.
Hi everyone, I'm Stephen.
And I'm Toi.
We're gonna play a game called Guess the Bear, where each of us has 3 words or phrases on these cards. We're gonna read 2 sentence examples for each, but instead of saying the word, we're gonna say the word bear instead. You have 1 minute to guess all 3.
Okay.
Can you do it, Toi?
Yes, I can.
Then start the timer, you're gonna go first. Okay, this is an adjective. Number 1, rent is paid on a bare basis. Number 2, I have a bare subscription to the magazine.
Monthly.
Very nice. All right, this is a noun. Number 1, you can submit your job bare here. Number 2, she put in an bear to volunteer at the zoo.
Application.
Good job.
Okay.
All right, this is a noun, 1 word. Number 1, the police officer asked me for bear. Number 2, we require 2 forms of bear to rent a car.
Say that first sentence again.
The police officer asked me for bear.
ID, identification.
Nice.
Oh, yes.
So
Okay.
ID is the short form for identification, because usually we don't say identification.
No.
ID is a lot easier, right? So you actually need identification for what else? Like going to bars?
Yeah, or getting on the airplane or train.
Nice, that is true. So ID is very important. All right, so now my turn.
Your turn.
Now you got all 3, so I have pressure.
You got to get all 3.
I can do this.
Okay. So it's a noun.
Okay.
It's 1 word.
Okay.
Bear in the program is open in June. Second, student bear at the school is 1,500.
Population? Oh, can you
Keep
sorry
going.
again? What was it in the first one?
Student bear at the school is 1,500.
Oh, oh no. Student 1,500. Student. It's like population, right? Student. Next one.
Okay. Noun, 1 word.
Okay.
He celebrated his bear to university. The last stage of grief is bear.
Acceptance.
Yes. Okay, next one. Phrase, 2 words. I'll call you when I'm bear my work. I'm really bear his attitude.
Finished with.
Close?
Done with.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Do this
Okay,
last. Okay.
go.
Now, bear in the program is open in June. Student bear at the school is 1,500.
Oh, what was it?
Enrollment.
Ah.
So you were close with population.
I was
it's
close.
enrollment.
Okay, I see.
So enrollment in the program is open in June.
Okay.
Student enrollment at the school is 1,500.
Right. I totally forgot about that word enrollment.
Oh, I hear
A lot of-
population more often.
Yeah, a lot of these words, man, like, you have to, like.
See you next time.